PC computer, you can just hold down your space Hello, Dr. Barnett. Thanks for joining us. We're just about to get started. And Ms. Prater, I see you here as well. Thank you for being here. We'll call on each of you as we get through the agenda. And it's a little after a couple of people. We're missing a couple of committee members, importantly. And so maybe, Susan, do you have any updates on Commissioner Williams or Edens?
I've texted both of them. I haven't received replies yet. Commissioner Williams was by this morning and indicated that she did have the email. So I would expect her to be joining us.
Okay. But also an approval of the agenda. Actually, let's just start with a roll call attendance. So if you're here, answer yes. Davenport?
Yes.
Edens? Wheeler?
Yes.
Williams? And Jones, yes. Okay, so let's go on to essential function. Can we do essential function and approval of the agenda as one item, or should we separate those into two separate votes?
If that's a question for me, I think so long as you frame it as review of the agenda, which starts with that determination that it's essential and in the best interest of the health and safety of the community in light of COVID, I think you're set. Thank you for asking.
That's right. Sure, and it does make sense to combine them, not just for expediency, but also because the agenda itself should be considered in the context of the essential nature of the meeting and its items. And so if I would entertain a motion that you approve the agenda and determine it to be essential business for the county. Commissioner Wheeler?
So moved.
First motion.
Second.
And that's from Davenport, I'm assuming. And so we'll just do a roll call vote. Davenport?
Yes.
Edens?
So
Wheeler?
moved. Yes.
First motion. Williams? And that's from Jones, yes. Okay. I'd like to next ask that we have a moment of silence in this very heavy and difficult time for our nation and in particular for our region. I hope we can all take this moment to reflect on the opportunities we have before us in the hour, right here now, to serve our community in a positive way. Let's all pray. Amen. Okay, and I really feel, oh, Susan, will you enable my screen sharing?
You should be able to share. It's on.
It says disabled.
Uh-oh, let me check that. Give it a whirl now.
Oh, so nice. Thank you. And you all will maybe laugh or maybe cry, but I feel like it's really important for us to go ahead and, hang on, I'm getting all this interference now.
It's showing up.
Is it showing up? Good. Let's take a moment to say the Pledge of Allegiance. You can mute or unmute, whatever you feel like doing. I pledge allegiance to the flag,
The flag.
the United States
United States of America,
and to the
to the
republic
republic
for
for
which it stands, one
One
nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
with
and
liberty,
justice.
for all.
Thank you. Okay. Before we begin our business, I did want to thank my fellow committee members for, in my absence last month, electing me to lead the Hugh Committee. And while there's always a joke about the person that doesn't attend the meeting, I was very honored to do that work and pleased that you extended that opportunity to me, and want each of you to know how much I have enjoyed working with you in the last couple of years. Had hoped to extend a heartfelt thank you to Commissioner Edens for his leadership over the last 2 years. I've watched and learned a lot from him in navigating some of the difficult material that comes in front of Hugh. And I just hope that I can do as good a job. So thank you to committee members and all of you who support us. I'm excited about the work ahead. Next, I will entertain a motion to approve our minutes from last month.
So moved. Davenport.
Thank you, Commissioner Davenport.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wheeler. We'll do a roll call vote. Davenport,
Yes.
Edens, Wheeler,
Yes.
Williams, Jones. Yes. Great. Actually, you know what? I'm going to abstain. I apologize. I wasn't here last month, so I can't really make a testimony to the minutes. But if I do that, then we don't have a quorum, do we?
You have to have 3 to take action. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I've
we
always, go ahead.
We looked at this in the Rules Committee just last month with respect to that issue. And I can pull it for you, and I can certainly distribute it afterwards. But you can indeed vote if you were not at so there's no issue presented by you doing that.
And I did read the minutes, and I feel confident to go ahead and vote yes on that, even though I wasn't here, just because I could see what kind of business was conducted, and it feels okay to me to support that and not have to bring it back. So we'll go ahead with that. We'll move on to the next order of business on the agenda. If you're looking at it, it's number 5. And that is an update from the director of the Washington County Schools, Dr. William Flannery.
Commissioner, can you hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Okay. I am en route to Jonesboro. I had the privilege this morning of attending the TSSAA State High School Cross Country Championships. If Steve Barnett's on the line, I want him to know that his fine young runner, the girl there at Science Hill, is now the state champion. I can report to the Crockett's girls, we believe as a team came in 6th in the state, which is the highest rank that school's ever had. Boone was there, and other runners from Science Hill. Don't know how they ranked yet because that's still being determined, but I'm sure it'll be online soon. But having told you that, I want to report that the funding for technology that HEW appropriated last month has already been spent. We found a vendor that had 100,000 HP Chromebooks in a warehouse. We bought 2,500 of them. They came in 2 days ago, and with that, we no longer have any waiting list at any school. Every child that wants a Chromebook now has one, and we're able to start replacing those that are obsolete. So that's a good investment of county funds. Now, secondly, and the thing that I want to report, next year, and for planning purposes, HEW needs to know is going to be a big year for buses. We're going to need 8 regular sized propane buses, a couple of regular short buses, a wheelchair bus, and for the record, it's going to be the price tag is going to be about $945,000. I didn't want to walk in there this summer or later on and just spring that on you. So big number. I wanted you to know that in advance. And Madam Chairman, that is my report for this month.
Thank you so much, Dr. Flannery. Do our committee members have questions? Dr. Flannery, those 2,800 Chromebooks, are those in the process of being distributed to students that are learning or planning to
Yes.
learn?
We
Susie Williams.
Welcome, Commissioner Williams.
Joined the meeting.
Go ahead.
they have to be processed. We put management software on each unit so that we can control them while the kids have them at home for obvious reasons. But we can process about 300 of them a day, and they were processing computers before all of them were unloaded off the tractor trailer. So yeah,
Wow.
they're being put in kids' hands even as we speak.
That's wonderful news. And I just have one more question, which is, I know that you all have worked to set up hotspots, community-based settings. What's being done to make online or remote learning more feasible for families in order to stay at home and do that? Are we improving our ability to keep people out of school parking lots for remote?
Yeah. The big work that was done was Bright Ridge, all that grant money they were able to get, matching funds that they put up against what the state of Tennessee gave them. I think it was some CARES money. I'm not sure what the origin was, but it was a lot of money. They had to be ready to, their grant, they used the phrase shovel ready, and they have until the end of this month to have all of that work complete. And what I understand, they will have made internet accessible to an additional nearly 600 Washington County families, and that doesn't include the families that are in Johnson City. So it's better than it was in August and much better than it was than last March. We also got a grant for 200 hotspots that we can put in kids' hands, and the grant pays for the use of them for a year, so that their family won't incur any expenses. So it's better than it was. We think that we are well under 5% of our families now that have no access whatsoever at home.
Other questions from the committee for Dr. Flannery? Amazing to hear that new report, those new numbers, and also thank you for that work in that area. That's been a pressing concern of mine. I have 2 learning at home right now, so I very much appreciate the challenges associated with that. Is that all, Dr. Flannery? Is there anything else?
That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll turn to our city schools superintendent, Dr. Steve Barnett.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. I enjoy seeing the HUE committee each month. I just want to make sure now that we're kind of back on a normal schedule, if I can't be there, then I'll make sure somebody else from our central office with something has, there are a lot of different things to report on, but some of you are new to the Hugh Committee, so I want to just give an update on some of the things that are going on in Johnson City Schools for you. We're at this point, we're in year 4 of our 5-year plan, so we're in the process of updating that with 3 new school board members coming on board. We'll be doing some school board training as far as how the system works, what each central office staff member does, that sort of thing with them over the next month before they're sworn in on December 7th. We've got some building projects going on with city schools. We have addition of 8 classrooms at Lake Ridge and addition of 8 classrooms at Woodland coming up, and have already started at Southside with the addition of 4 classrooms, which completes that school. And that should allow us, at least in short term, to have enough capacity. It will allow us to go ahead with our 2 middle school plan with some additional storage at Indian Trail to go ahead and do that year 2022-23. So we'll be in the process this spring of talking to staff members, surveying them. The ones from Indian Trail will be moving, transitioning back down to the elementary. And then between the 2, the intermediate and the current middle school staff members moving from one to the other, doing staff development next year with them during the school year, and be ready for that transition on for 22-23. We're also in the process of updating our demographics for our 2 middle school plan. It's really important to us that those 2 schools be very demographically, socioeconomically similar. We've already gone through the process of making sure that the facilities are very comparable, and the addition of the gym and the cafeteria at Libertyville, that's a big help for that. And also the storage space frees up locker rooms at Indian Trail that were being used for storage because of lack of storage in that school building. Also have some science lab updates will be going on through probably next summer. So it'll bring Indian Trail, which is a little bit smaller school capacity wise than Indian Trail. So our right now it looks like it'll be about 900 to 1,000 at Indian Trail and right around 1,000 at Libertyville, with the capacity at Libertyville of about 1,200, capacity of Indian Trail of about 1,100. Wanted to tell you a little bit, bus drivers, we're short on bus drivers, doing the best, Johnson City Transit's doing the best they can to recruit and to hire and to keep bus drivers and also keep them healthy and on the job. Along those same lines, we have COVID-19 tracing is what we are using to keep our school buildings open. We're being as transparent as possible and updating our dashboard three times a week. And we do have, you can look at schools and kind of get an idea of where we have more cases and more quarantines. We have one elementary right now that's got a few more cases, but it looks like that's going to settle down. We're taking our guidance from regional health department, public health officials on whether we need to do a school to go remote like Libertyville did. So the question comes up, why not? Why isn't Science Hill gone to remote? And the short answer is really they're just not seeing that community spread that they saw at Libertyville within the school. A lot of that's being brought in from outside, activities that normal high school students participate in. And we're still, we look at that every day and listen to those recommendations from Dr. Thomas and Dr. Kursky, but mainly Dr. Thomas. And it's allowed us to keep those schools up and going, because that probably will be a question that you get. And I want to make sure you knew that that's how we're doing that. Capacity wise, school wise, we're really close to capacity at our school buildings. So that additional space that we'll receive on the northeast and northwest side of town will be crucial. And then it'll be important down the road for the system to be able to add some more space as we continue to grow as a community, and we hope all of Washington County continues to grow. do you have any questions for me today?
Any questions, commissioners?
I'd just like to say we appreciate you being here. I think it helps to keep communication going.
I really appreciate that. And there's a couple of you I go to church with. I'm really looking forward to getting back into going back to church with a couple of you. And I miss that as well.
I did have a short phone call with Dr. Barnett a few weeks ago just to reassure him that we appreciate his visits with us and kind of assess like how routine those should be. And, he expressed an interest in being here monthly or sending someone in his stead. And we all can talk a bit more about what information we might find helpful. If there are specific things that would help us put the broader county needs into context, we can do that too. So we'll save time for those conversations. And Dr. Barnett, I sure appreciate you being here with us today. Thank you.
I'm honored and honored to do it, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Great. We're going to move to our next agenda item, which is Mr. Chapman, who's going to talk with us about building codes. And you should, this particular material is probably the most deep dive stuff that we're going to need to consider and conceivably, propose a resolution to go forward today if that feels like the right thing. So you should have received some of those materials in your packet, all of those materials in your packet, with the exception of a couple of letters of support that came in a little bit later. And I'm not sure if those were forwarded, but in any case, you have the primary documents. So I'll just turn it over to you, Mr. Chapman, and you can take it away. You're muted. Mr. Chapman, you're muted, so we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Thank you. Just want to thank this committee for what you do. And we want to bring before this committee a request to update our current building code. Currently, we're on the 2012 building code, and the state has just recently, back in July, has went to the 2018 building code, and that is what we're wanting to do. In the documents that I had sent to you were the revisions and amendments that I took from the state's version of that building code, and basically just emulated what they had taken, along with a couple other household items where I cleaned up some of the things that we don't actually do. It doesn't actually pertain to us. As far as I know, the letters of recommendation that you spoke of were forwarded on to everybody. Is there any questions that you all might have for me?
I would just add, having spoke with you, Mr. Chapman, that what I appreciate here is that he is in communication with our city codes people, and there's an effort being made to unify codes across city and county so we don't have a real complex situation for builders. I think some of that's reflected in the letters, but I did have a chance to briefly confirm with Mr. McClellan, who is the city codes person on the city side, that he has been in contact and is very supportive of what Mr. Chapman brings to us today. The only other, thing is, well, what will Sullivan County do? And from a regionalism perspective, we really want to think about, how to bring all of those codes to one common language, but that isn't the business in front of us. We just want to get this thing done for the county right now. And my only question would be, it sounds like the city is a pace or two behind us.
They are right. They're going to be submitting theirs this coming month as well. Of course, they have to go through 3 readings, so it will take them a little bit longer to go through the process. Just so you know, Sullivan County and Kingsport has already gone to the 2018 code. They actually done it prior to the state, what the state enacted. That's already happened for them.
And the cities will look just like ours then, and then ours look just like Kingsport and Sullivan County, or?
Well, theirs is an ordinance and ours would be a resolution. There are other things, the fire code, electrical code, existing building code. There's other things that are in their ordinance that don't necessarily pertain to us, but the nuts and bolts of the International Residential Code, which what we're requesting to adopt, will look very similar. All the exclusions, the amendments that the state has made that that the home builders lobbied for, they are in that, and that was taken into consideration, and that's what we presented before you to accept.
So just for clarification there, you said the Home Builders Association has approved, maybe not approved, but they've seen this and they are in support of these changes. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I attended the Johnson City Area Home Builders last month, and one of the letters that Commissioner Jones referred to was from the Johnson City Area Home Builders, that letter of recommendation. And the other letter was from Tim Hicks, which was the acting vice president of the Home Builders Association of Tennessee. And that's really who lobbied with the state fire marshal's office for the exceptions and the exemptions that they wanted to see. Their concern was the additional cost that was going to be, the additional cost that was going to be passed down to the builder. And those things have been scaled back to keep that additional cost from happening. But those 2 letters of recommendation pretty well basically say that that's what, the direction that we're taking this is the correct way.
I'm willing to move forward with the motion on this, but I would like to ask that we be provided those letters for our files. This will be going forward to the commission, so I'd like to have those.
I'll forward them again to Ms. Green and maybe Ms. Stutes, or I don't know. Ms. Stutes is taking minutes, so if she could help us compile those with the other artifacts from the meeting, that would be fantastic.
You just make them part of your minutes, and then they'll give the packet to all commissioners.
Yep.
As well.
It's perfect.
But I would just interject, if I might, just for a second, to say that Scott has really done yeoman's work communicating with the city of Johnson City and their team as they move forward. Their code changes will look virtually identical to ours. There will be some differences in Sullivan County and Washington County and ours, but they're really very close. The goal, Chairman Jones, was to actually, unify the entire region so that there was sort of a one platform code, but the other counties got out a little bit in front, so there are going to be slight differences. But Johnson City and Washington counties will be virtually identical. And Scott's been to the home builders. He's been in communication with a number of our larger builders in the county, sharing what these changes are going to be. So there's not going to be a surprise to them. And they've all come back with endorsements. In fact, I spoke with Lisa, the leader of the Johnson City Area Home Builder Association, just several days ago to reconfirm that there are no other issues that have come up, and she really lauded Scott's efforts in coming forward and being really upfront with the changes coming up, because it's always a big deal when there's differences in the code enforcement going forward, and communication for decades has been an issue when these changes take place. Thankfully, they don't happen too often, but they do happen periodically. And in this particular case, we're way out in front, and it has the support of, everyone that I've spoken with. I've talked to a number of builders as well. So, Scott, thank you for, taking the lead and doing that work. And I think this will be a smooth transition if y'all approve it.
One other point I would like to make is, as far as statutorily, we're required to be within 7 years of the most published edition of the code that the ICC has published. They produce that every 3 years. We're looking at the 21 code that's coming out any day. To stay within the exempt status of the state of Tennessee, technically before that 21 code is available, we're supposed to be within that 7-year period. I've already spoken to the state and told them that, what our intentions are. They're completely on board. They have no concern, but just wanted to throw that out there to let you know that this is something that we're statutorily required to do. So.
Commissioner Wheeler.
One question I have, we talked about regionalism in Kingsport, Sullivan County, but where's Jonesboro on all this? I don't know what year they've got right now.
I did speak with Glenn Rosenoff. They're in the process of bringing in a new inspector, and basically what I was told was they were going to look at it, but they basically were going to, the only way that they were going to do is when they were mandated by the state and told that they needed to update their code.
The communication component is there. They're just in a little different place with, Jay not being there anymore, and them not actually having an official inspector at the moment. So they'll get there eventually. And this code has been, the code that comes out has all sorts of components in there that would drive the cost of a residential structure up a lot. And the reason that it's taken as long to get where we are as it has is that we chose to wait until the state did the modifications. So they've done the yeoman's work of pulling back the SES code components that are really, really costly for the builders to add to the house. So the state, once they weighed in on it, then the county was pretty much, able to take and just piggyback on that. So we have no specific changes at the county level, and Johnson City didn't either at their level. Suspect that Jonesboro will do the same thing, Mr. Wheeler, when they decide to move to the new code.
If there's no other discussion or questions, and if there are, that's fine. I think we could entertain a motion to create a resolution that would move this building code forward to the full commission.
We already have one.
Do we? I'm so confused. We already have a motion, or we already have a resolution, or I don't know, maybe I missed something.
Had a motion from Commissioner Wheeler.
Oh, I heard you say something about a motion, but I didn't realize it was an actual motion. So very good. So have we had a second?
Second.
Great. Is there any further discussion? Okay, I'll take a roll call. Davenport?
Yes.
Edens? Wheeler?
Yes.
Williams? Commissioner Williams, are you there? Okay, Jones, yes. All right, I think our next item, and thank you, Mr. Chapman, for being with us and for a great report. appreciate you. And all the-
Always available if anybody has any questions or concerns.
Yeah, thank you.
y'all.
I think our next item is environmental court report.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. I've got for you a summary of environmental court. And I know some of your members are different than those who were on this, assigned to this committee in the past. So I'll just give you a quick summary that we have currently going to court on November 20th of this month. So this month we have 7 matters. Just as an overview, we did discuss at a prior HEW meeting that in between the preparation of citation and the filing of that citation in General Sessions Court, that we would implement something of a pre-litigation mediation to save county residents the court costs, because we always mediate these matters before we go in front of the judge. So it was just an additional effort to expedite communication and help the citizens, but keep them moving forward. Also, part of that was a process that would be to be developed that would allow for this committee to, I'm going to say, authorize the lawsuit, for lack of a better word, so that you're involved in the number that are proceeding in front of the Sessions Court judges. I bring that up because that's been a few months since that's really been discussed with your committee. And here I'm telling you that we would be in court on 7 matters. And it's because 6 of those matters have had continuances since April. And, you know, I think that some of them, it's the 3rd and 4th time. And the compliance officer, Bobby France, really did encourage the county to proceed with those, move them through, and see how that could be addressed. I will tell you that of those 6, 1 is in compliance, so one of the items will be seeking a dismissal. The other 2 matters that were under consideration by this office were matters that had had final orders in 2018 and 2019, and under the contempt authority of the court, we sent a letter saying you're back, you know, in violation of the health and safety issues, and would you please bring it back into compliance? One of them did, and one of them did not. And so with that one, we would be seeking contempt, which includes fines and other types of penalties that I know were of interest to the county with repeat property owners. So to keep you advised on that topic, that has proceeded since the last time we discussed. So again, that will be 5 matters that are, I'm going to say, you know, new matters in that they don't have prior orders, but they have been in front of the court, or at least on file, since early spring, and we're coming at the end of the work season, and then the other one in contempt. Bobby France, with respect to the process, just remember that he goes out 2 days before the hearing to give the citizen the most opportunity to come into compliance. And if there's not compliance, he documents that. Mr. France will be out for health leave. I think he's doing fine, and he did authorize me to share with you that that was his status, that he'd be out for a few months. It's great timing that Scott Chapman is here, because the mayor and Scott and Teresa and I met to talk about the handling, the operational side, and how that would dovetail into these litigation matters. And then we, of course, met with the purchasing director for those bids. So that process is moving forward, even in Mr. France's absence. I'll leave the operational side to the mayor and Mr. Chapman, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on these cleanups. To the extent orders are issued, they would come back to HEW with a request for the funding, which would then go to budget. So these would be matters considered at your December meeting. And then for a December resolution, if the county wanted to fund that cleanup. Does anybody have any questions or comments or new thoughts on this process as we develop it going forward. It's still a bit of a work in progress with these mediations, to the extent that Mr. Chapman identifies properties or takes complaints or that sort of thing with these new citations. They will not go to court until they have, we've met with them. We estimated that it would probably take 3 business days to mediate them, depending on the volume. I think that there was an estimate of 16 out of 116 or 18 that Mr. France had identified. So Teresa and I have set aside 3 business days to meet with all of these residents in pre-litigation mediation, and we would bring that to you before additional costs are incurred that would lead to liens.
Thank you. 2 things. One is, we have roughed out some improvements to environmental cleanup and court processes, but we still have some, I think, way to go. One of the kind of key roles I think we've defined for Hugh is oversight of the process itself. So if you're not clear on the process, and I think we're all still wrapping our heads around like how to make it as good as it can be, that would certainly be something we could set time aside in a meeting to do. Mr. Chapman, the second thing is that Mr. Franz was collecting some fantastic data for us that was part of, at least for me, how I was wrapping my head around the work involved in environmental cleanup in the county, and sort of helping me understand the scope and scale of the projects. He had an Excel spreadsheet, and he was documenting calls and sort of like when the call came in and when he visited and some of the follow-up actions that were taken. Have you seen that at all, or has that thing kind of died out?
Yeah, he did furnish me with a copy of that spreadsheet. As far as actually keeping it up to date, I have not been able to since he left last Thursday was his last day. So we're into it a week. But yes, to answer your question, I have seen that sheet.
It sounds like you're doing 2 jobs now. So
3 or 4 maybe.
Yeah, so no obligation there, just so you know, was looking at that spreadsheet had been quite helpful to me. And I don't know how we can go forward to continue with that. I just wanted to put that out.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, between Scott and Tabitha, they're managing the incoming calls or the complaints and so forth, and that spreadsheet will be maintained. It's a critical component of the work that's being done in that organization as far as keeping it organized. And I'm overseeing the process generally, and so it's my tool as well. So rest assured that work will continue.
Lovely. Other questions from the commissioner? All right. Well, Ms. Wilkinson, thank you for the report. Mr. Chapman, thank you for taking this on for us. It's important work. Mayor Grandy, thank you for data, for appreciating the data. And with that, we'll close that item out and move on to Mr. Griffin for an update from the library.
Thank you, Chairman. The library is working really hard to provide internet access to the public as well. We have a number of hotspots that are available. They may be checked out for free during the course of the grant period. We have a number of Chromebooks that are on order. Of course, we're on back order. Those will be able to be checked out by the public as well. Those will be free. We have also upgraded the wireless systems at both libraries. So we're seeing a lot of use of our parking lots at all hours by the public, surfing the net and doing what they need to do. We're providing assistance on telephone or online and training classes online to the public to help them work through things like how to log on to the internet, basically whatever problems they may have. We had a special call meeting of the library board last week. I asked them to address the topic of reopening. They voted not to reopen at this time, and that we will relook at reopening mid-December. The library has also received a state grant for digitization of our library photograph collection. I would request that this be passed to the Finance Committee for inclusion in the library budget. And I'm available for any questions.
So, Mr. Griffin, you need a resolution. Is that what we need? Is that the action we need to take, Ms. Wilkinson, a resolution to accept, is it state funds or?
It is state funds from the state library.
How much?
It's $640.
Oh.
We should be able,
Okay.
it's not much, but we should be able to digitize our entire library collection
Gotcha.
with that, and we will post those on online for the public use.
That's great. Well, I'll make a motion that we pass this resolution to accept state funds for the library.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Davenport. Any further discussion or questions from Mr. Griffin? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Davenport,
Yes.
Edens, Wheeler,
Yes.
Williams, Jones, yes. Thanks again, Mr. Griffin. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. I don't see anyone on the call from the health department. Is there a report from the health department today? Okay, moving on, county attorney report.
Thank you. And thank you for considering everything that you've gone through with environmental court and making those changes and keeping that open. I don't have anything in addition to environmental court or the information that we discussed with open meetings law. You know, that's something with more Zoom meetings going forward these months, just to keep you advised of that and the most recent language that the governor has included in his order. But I'm happy to answer any questions if you have anything related to this committee's work.
Questions? Great. All right. At this time, I would like to introduce Ms. Samantha Prater, who is the Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center. Ms. Prater and I spoke on the phone multiple times, and really going back into the early summer when she had an interest in presenting to you all about the work of the Children's Advocacy Center. And she waited a while because by the time we got her signed up to get in touch to be on one of our meetings, we were in committee transitions. So it's been a few months, and we thank you for your patience. Ms. Prater and I spoke about recent changes that the county has made in terms of funding nonprofits, and understands that we're not currently funding nonprofit projects, and that's certainly a potential topic of interest for this committee going into the next few months. But I felt that she had some important information about treatment for children in our region that was of value for us regardless. And she has a few minutes now to tell us a little bit about what she does.
Hello. Okay, first I would just like to say thank you to everyone for letting me speak and just letting me be able to talk to you all about raising awareness with child abuse. I know it's not a fun topic, but it exists. Okay, so I sent a packet, and I'm hoping that that was given to everyone The first page is just general information. We're the Children's Advocacy Center. We serve the 1st Judicial District, which is Carter, Johnson, Washington, and Unicoi counties. We work in conjunction with Child Protective Services, the DA's office, law enforcement, juvenile court, mental health, as a group together to benefit the children involved in severe abuse cases. We are a nonprofit. The inception was around about 91. This CAC that is actually located in Johnson City opened in 2000, so we are hitting 20 years right now. In that time, we have gotten a mental health program going for trauma-focused therapy, and we also have a medical exam program that we partner with ETSU Pediatrics for. So basically the concept of what we do is, years ago, a child would have to potentially tell their story up to like 15 times to 15 different people. So basically that's all been streamlined into one visit here. So there's much less trauma on the child's part. And that's kind of the gist of this part of the packet that I sent in. The child can come here, do the forensic interview, do therapy, get advocacy, and get a medical exam if need be. And then the next page is just the definition of what's a forensic interview. And just so you're aware, forensic interviewers have to be trained in a very specific manner. They have to have 3 years of experience. They have to have 40 hours of specific forensic interview training. So it can't be done just by any random person. If all of the stipulations are not met, the DVD that is recorded cannot be submitted into prosecution. So that is a very important aspect of what we do, just to say that just, you know, not anyone can do this. The forensic interviewer has to be trained. So that the DVD can be submitted into evidence, and that's mandated by the Tennessee Code Annotated. So it's basically a forensic interview is a fact-finding conversation with a child to hopefully ascertain if anything has happened to them. The next page is just a list of our MDT members, and this is law enforcement. Again, the DA's office for 1st Judicial, Juvenile Court, Police Department, Sheriff's Department for every county, and we serve 4, so there's a lot of them. We also do work with TBI, FBI, and Homeland Security. And most of that centers around trafficking cases where the child has been trafficked. They live here, the perpetrator could live anywhere, but we do the interviews on the trafficking cases. The next page is statistics, and they were actually for last month. I'm sorry, they were for the first quarter, so they've changed a little bit, but we had 39 cases out of Carter, 6 out of Johnson, 3 out of Unicoi, 85 out of Washington, and we did 13 courtesy interviews, which is kids from generally other jurisdictions, but they're potentially in foster care and they're placed here. So we do the interviewing for the other jurisdictions. And again, one of the most important things I wanted to stress today was just raising awareness. And I know that this is not something that people like to talk about. It's difficult, it's upsetting, but it exists, and these kids and their families need support. So if you don't remember anything else that I say today, this is how you report child abuse in Tennessee, and everyone in Tennessee is a mandated reporter. Preferentially, if the child tells you something, you need to make the report. You don't need to tell someone else to make the report, you make the report. And the child abuse hotline is 877-237-004, or you can do it online at tn.dcs, I believe. This is just our organizational chart. We have to be governed by a board of directors, which we are. Our board chair, his name is Randy Almanzor. We have an executive committee that oversees finances. We have 3 full-time staff and 2 part-time staff, and a contract staff. And then the last page just references typical sexual development from 0 to 17. Again, I know this is uncomfortable to talk about at times, but this is what we do every day. We have an amazing team that loves kids and wants to do whatever we can to help them. And so that is my spiel for the day. And again, just raising awareness is key in helping kids. Mandatory reporting. We have a Facebook page you can follow. We have an Instagram and we have a TikTok. And basically, we're just here to be a voice for children. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you so much, Ms. Prater, for advocating for children, especially kids in really tough situations. Do any commissioners have questions?
Just a statement, Ms. Chairman. They provide such a critical role in law enforcement here in Washington County. I just can't say enough about their service to law enforcement and all across the county. And I definitely support their mission and what they do. And I've been so proud to be a part of them at times. And I just can't say enough.
Thank you, Mr. Matherly.
Yes, I've got a question. You're dealing with legal matters and things like that. So, and this is a nonprofit. So if you're not there to do that, who steps in and handles part of this legal part that you're dealing with? The interviews and things like that. It sounds like that's all part government related. So that's what I don't understand.
It is government related. We actually have 2 forensic interviewers. And they split everything up. If something happens and they both cannot be here for some reason, then the interview has to be rescheduled. But we do receive some federal and state grant funding. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. I still, and with all this said, please understand, I'm not questioning, thinking something's wrong. I'm questioning for my understanding and my learning. And
yes, it is very difficult because one of our forensic interviewers is part-time and the other one went home 2 hours ago, extremely sick. And we had to reschedule some this afternoon. And we have a very small staff. It's really all we can do to pay the people that we do have and to keep the building over our heads. And it's tough some days to get everything done, but we do the best we can.
Yeah, and I just need to understand more, and I will. But this being a nonprofit, it seems to me like this is essential business that needs to be a department of our government, just like our police force and other things. I know we have volunteer police officers that help us out, and we need them, and they're great. But the majority of that is handled by professional police officers that we pay. And I was one that had a lot of questions about funding nonprofits and things like that, because we have, and the reason being, we have so many great volunteers doing a lot of different things and helping a lot of different people, and picking and choosing. I just had a problem with it. Was not that I was worried about where money was going or anything like that. It was about who you say yes to and who you say no to. That's what bothered me. But it sounds like this should be something that's just a government office. But I'll learn more. Thank you.
I missed the last part of what you said. I do agree with you. We are essential. We took in the beginning of the pandemic, we worked from home and came in for emergency stuff, but we've been back full time here since May 25th, and we do up to 4 to 5 interviews a day, and we've got therapy kids coming in and out all day because we feel like we need to be here. So again, I just want to say
So
thank you
much.
so much for letting me speak.
Yeah, thank you for coming, and thank you, commissioners, for questions. It's amazing how many lives you've touched. I know as a pediatric psychologist, I have also had some interface with your work, and I know Commissioner Williams was on your board a long time ago. So
Yes.
we've all kind of experienced your work in different ways, but I appreciate you being here today.
No problem. And thank you so much. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to contact me, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So that completes the list of outside folks and regular business. Does anyone have any other business for the good of the order today? Anything? Commissioner Wheeler, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just had one question, Chairman. I guess this is more for Allison. At one time, we had provided the CAC Center with some funding from the drug fund. Of course, that's to do with the sheriff's office. But could we go back and find that resolution? It's probably 7 or 8 years ago. I would like to look at that resolution and see see just how we did that. If that would be something that I would just like to see.
That's no problem. We will pull that today.
I think if you're talking about the money from the Victims Assistance Fund, and I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're talking about, but if so, that money actually goes to the Family Justice Center now. We get victim assistance from Johnson, and Unicoi Washington goes to the Family Justice Center. We did receive appropriations in the past, but that's, floating out there.
Chairman Matherly, I will look for.
Yeah, this was a special appropriation.
I will look for any resolutions that references, and do I have it correct that it's Child Advocates? What is the final C for?
Children's Advocacy Center.
Thank you.
The First Judicial District.
Thank you very much.
Very long.
That's been the name for the past 8 to 10 years. No changes.
Yes, it's been the same thing since 2000. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions, new business, anything that you all want to bring today? First of all, I'm going to pat myself on the back because we did all that in an hour, which I am super excited, including a flag with the actual Pledge of Allegiance. I feel like that was a huge win for me. I do want committee members to know that I've put a little thought into, how to make these meetings not only efficient, but also, opportunities for us to get new information about activities in the county, like we did today from Ms. Prater, for example. And so, I think what I'm going to do, and I'm welcoming your input, is keep the standing items that we've always had: the superintendents, the county attorney, environmental court, the library, etc. Ask those folks to submit business to me a week in advance. I'll prompt them, and if it looks like it's going to be something real time consuming, I'll make sure and talk with them. But something like what Dr. Flannery or Dr. Barnett did today is just going to be okay to just come and do. When I have new folks that want to speak in this meeting, I'm going to give you my pledge to speak with them before the meeting on the phone and kind of vet the ideas they have, make sure they know kind of what our sort of role is and what we need to know, kind of help develop the content before it comes here and help maybe set some time for them, sort of sense of how long they have to talk and what order it'll be in, and give people a feel for what we do. I think that'll help. I would like to And I will certainly ask anyone who has materials that we need to consider for resolution purposes to get those to us well in advance, definitely, preferably more than a week in advance. You know, some topics that I feel this board needs to learn about or think about include one, workforce development, which is a priority area for the county commission, and we've kind of not done a lot on that. Lottie Ryans is out for our meeting next month, but offered to come in January and brief us on ways the county commission can kind of spur on some workforce development work. I think it would be great to continue to look at the environmental cleanup and court process and shore that up as a group as the year goes by, and we're piloting kind of quality improvement style work. I know we had heard the Washington County School Board was interested in a joint meeting with the commission. I feel like this committee could, that has been put on hold, but I feel like this committee could work with maybe me through you, working with their chair people to sort of co-create an agenda. Also reaching out to the city board and doing some relationship building there. And then lastly, another item that has come to my attention is that the First Tennessee Development District, specifically Elena Wood, whose role has to do with sustainability and in the county, is looking at a Clean Up Washington County effort, an initiative that's a broad initiative. There's also a Clean Up Johnson's, it's not Clean Up, it's like Make America Beautiful, but Washington County. Make Washington County Beautiful. I'm getting the title wrong, but it's a county initiative to clean things up, particularly spaces that are public land that are not, the same thing as our environmental cleanup projects, which are private property. There's also a city initiative and a town initiative that complement those. She just informed me recently they did a big cleanup in the National Forest, Buffalo Mountain area. There's been a lot of tire dumping over there. They cleaned up 1 billion tires. I'm not exaggerating. And there's already been dozens and dozens of tires dumped back into the National Forest since like within the month. And so kind of interested in inviting her to update us on that initiative and kind of hear what's going on. I welcome your ideas too for speakers or things that you all think we need to know more about, as well as input on how to keep the meetings focused and effective. Anybody have anything for me off the top? Nothing? All right. Well, I guess then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.